My first performance with Birmingham Royal Ballet was in the year 2011 when I joined. Seems like a long time ago now. And I actually, when I graduated from the Royal Ballet School, I sustained an injury. I actually broke my fifth metatarsal. So when I joined the company, I had just had my boot taken off. So I was very much rehabbing when I joined, and at the time, David Bintley was director, so David Bintley. And he knew, and he said, you know, rehab and get back and work in the Jerwood Centre, which we have here, the facilities. And I did that, and my first performance with the company was in Beauty and the Beast, his production of Beauty and the Beast. And I loved it. It was wonderful. I'll never even forget my first partner who was with me in the Corps de Ballet then. It was, at the time, soloist Celine Gittins, who I've gone on to dancing many productions with. So it was special. And what's really great is that 3 years later, I think it was, it's 3 years later, Beauty and the Beast was my first full length that I did in a principal role. So it was wonderful to have that as my introduction when I first joined, but then also when it returned, I danced the Beast in my first principal role. Some of the roles here in the company which have really had an impact in my trajectory, artistically, and gosh, there's many roles, so it is hard to choose, but I would say working with David Bintley has been incredible. I've been really fortunate to have had that time with him as my director and working within ballets that he's revived that are very distinguished, things like Still Life at the Penguin Cafe, Carmina Burana, and then also working more on more of his newer works like Cinderella, The King Dances. Every time working with him, it's like you're crafting away at a narrative or at a role, and it's a very subtle way of progressing. And when you come to the stage, when you come to performance, sometimes it might not be there straight away, but he's very much someone who lets the artist nurture it. So of course he will have you on the right path and, you know, make sure you don't deviate away from it. But it's very much, he'll let the artist discover that for themselves. So there's too many roles when it comes to Sir David's ballets. I do love Still Life at the Penguin Cafe, and I'm really happy that that's programmed in the final bill as the Southern Cape Zebra. It's one of my favourite roles, and the zebra has probably one of the best costumes I've ever worn in my career so far, so very happy about that. But some other roles are Sir Frederick Ashton's Le Film Regardé. It was a role, Colas is a role which I never had on the list. You know, I think all dancers kind of have lists of, you know, of maybe roles or ballets they want to dance. And I suppose I have a bit of a list. I've ticked a lot of them off, and I'm very grateful. And it was a huge honour to dance so many of them. But Colas was never there. So a few years ago when it was programmed and I saw my name pop up on the casting, it was alongside former principal dancer Delia Matthews, who I danced with a lot. We were both scared. We were both scared. We knew it was a very hard ballet, not just it being virtuoso, but also carrying that narrative while making it look easy. But I thought, look, okay. I said to Delia, I said, look, we're in it together. And we had a blast. We had the most wonderful time. It was a long process in the studio. You know, I definitely had the tears. We had the laughs. We had, you know, all of that. But it was a really amazing process. Another role, most recently, was in Carlos's Don Quixote. It's a little bit like Le Film Regardé. It's very virtuoso. Very virtuoso. And I remember saying to Carlos, I kind of said how I was a little bit worried about doing Basilio. It was mostly because you think of Basilio and you think of tricks. You think of great bravura, and you think of a guy who just doesn't stop turning and doesn't stop jumping. His feet are never on the ground. I didn't want to take myself out the role or anything. I wanted to do it, and I just had a very open conversation with him and said, look, I don't want to either embarrass myself or have people think, oh, miscast or something like that. And he said probably one of the greatest things that any, I suppose, choreographer has said to me is that we work and do it how you can do it. And he did that. He worked with me and pulled out of me the things that I can do. And he even went away and came back days or weeks down the line, and he came to me with certain combinations and things that would look well on me, either partnering to up the level, because I adore partnering, it's my favorite thing about dance. So it was either the partnering to up the level or with the solos and things, that would show me off on what I can do well. And when he said that, all my worries went away. And it's the power of having, being open and having conversations, and that's what that really taught me, and for that I'll always be thankful. And it was a wonderful journey to dance that, as well as Espada as well, which was great fun dancing Espada. Just last year, we had the great fortune to have the great choreographer Juliano Nunez come and create a piece for the company. He's a very much in-demand choreographer. Everyone loves his work, so I was a bit worried. I thought, oh gosh, this guy's coming in and making this work, and you know, how's it going to go down, and how are we going to feel, and all that I can say is that it was amazing. He called the piece Interlinked. It premiered last summer, and it's making its first revival within my final mixed program with the company. And it really means a lot to me because of the messaging and the themes that run through the piece, but also the fact that I got to work very closely with a very dear friend of mine who's a fellow principal dancer, Su Chao Cho, and also principal ballerina Yao Xian Xiang, who I adore them both greatly. And it was a really special process of just being in the studio and really having the input with the choreographer and just kind of volleying with these ideas and discovering where our bodies and the movement can take us, both solo and as a group unit, and in pas de deux, which I love. So that means a lot, and to have that in the final program alongside George Balanchine's Apollo and Sir David's Still Life at the Penguin Cafe it's a dream. So last year I journeyed all the way to Cape Town to dance, to guest with Cape Town City Ballet. That opportunity came around, it actually presented itself before the pandemic, but it was something that was put off. So I was in talks with Debbie Turner, an absolutely wonderful lady, who contacted me in 2019 about potentially going to dance with a company. So we were looking into it, but then said pandemic happened. So then that was all put on the back burner. But after we came out of it and things were building up and they were opening out, because again, they were also having different restrictions to what we were having here in the UK. So even if I could get on an aeroplane, it doesn't mean they're performing. But when things were easing out and they were able to get back to proper live performances with a slightly reduced audience, I went to dance in Maina Gielgud's Giselle. It was my first time meeting and working with Maina. I had seen a lot of her in passing from my time at the Royal Ballet School, because my teachers then were Gary Norman with the great Gaining Stock at the helm. So I'd seen her in and out of the school and sometimes at the Opera House watching various performances. So it was actually incredible to finally get to meet and work closely with her on such an iconic piece as well. So I journeyed out in February last year. I was there for 6 weeks, dancing with one of their ballerinas, Liani Tennyson, and she was making her debut. So it was such a wonderful time, because 6 weeks is a healthy amount of time for me to have got to know the company. Not just kind of know where I'm going, but actually know names and get to know how the personalities are and really see what that family's like. And it was my first company guesting experience away from Birmingham Royal Ballet. So for that, yeah, I was super grateful. When the opportunity arose to join Ballet Zurich, it was I was quite shocked to begin with. I thought, gosh, how incredible. Firstly, I was just like, wow, how incredible. I knew of the company, I knew lots of the stuff they did, but I didn't know everything. So it was very much a series of conversations and research, looking at everything, all parts of it, and also Zurich itself and Switzerland. I've only ever been here in the UK. Birmingham Royal Ballet was the first company I joined from school in 2011, and I've been here ever since. It's now been 12 seasons, 12 wonderful years. Even during the coronavirus pandemic, the company, with Carlos on board then, were very much having performance opportunities at the forefront. So although that was a struggle, there was still this energy building within the company for when we do get back, and that contributed to still having an amazing time here in the company. But 12 years is a healthy amount of time, and with the deciding, with me deciding which way to go, I thought, look, if I was on, 4th, 5th, 6th year, then stay, keep going, keep pushing. But I've done so much of the repertoire, dare I say, all of the full lengths within the company, and danced with probably all but one or two of the new choreographers that have stepped through the door. I couldn't have asked for a better start to my career and into middle career. I don't like to say I'm at the end of my career, but you never know what can happen, and it's a very short career, and that was a big factor of why I thought, what have I got to lose? It's a place where I'm going to be able to be exposed to new works, new choreographers, a new cultural exchange with other dancers from around the world. There are other dancers joining, new, just like me, from other companies. So there's a lot of us that are going to be in the same boat. But I think there's something really exciting about being in it together. I'm very much like that, of, okay, we're a team, we're going. And I'm really excited about what's to come up. I know the first season, that was part of discussions with Kathy very early on. So I knew what was to be held throughout the 23-24 season. Very excited. I haven't danced any of the works or any of the choreographers' works, so it's all new. There's going to be a lot of learning, but I've got the energy and I've got the want to be able to crack on and get on with it. I'll always have a soft spot for Birmingham Royal Ballet. An ex-teacher said to me, who once danced in the company, he said, it will always be your spiritual home. He had also moved companies some time ago when he was at Sadler's Wells Royal Ballet. But he said it will always be a spiritual home, and I thought, yeah, that really, he couldn't have said it better. But it's time to move on, continue the growth, build on everything I've learned and everyone I've learned from. Kathy has been nothing but amazing and gracious and encouraging and very open with where I was at and where I'm going throughout this journey. And Carlos has been incredible. He conversations at the beginning, of course, there was a lot for us both to digest, but he understands after many conversations with him, talking things through career-wise, and of course he has been able to grow and do so much because he's also been able to move around and have that freedom artistically across the globe. So although this isn't his kind of freedom of what he enjoyed in his career, it's on another scale that can help nurture my artistic development. My final official Birmingham Royal Ballet performance, I think it's going to be really emotional. There's been a build-up. Some time ago when we finished the Swan Lake tour in Edinburgh, I was very emotional then. I think it was a mixture of essentially my final tour with the company, as I know it. And Swan Lake, one of my favourites, something I really enjoyed and danced quite a lot. And also my final full length with the company. So there were many emotions, and putting that aside, the Swan Lake score is emotional in itself. So I think that got me to begin with, and it just catapulted from there. The final evening of the mixed bill, I think I've just got to have the tissues at the ready. I want to treat it as a celebration because I'm not retiring from dance. I'm certain and hopeful that there will be opportunities to dance in the UK again. Zurich's not far, you know, sometimes it's taken me longer to get to London. Yeah, I want to treat it as a celebration of my time within the company. And there's no better way than a mixed program, which is what I love a lot. And to dance a Balanchine work, which I love Balanchine's work, and it will be a debut. To dance in Interlinked, which is the newest work I've worked on, the newest creation, and then to finish with my original director's work, which seems almost quite appropriate. Someone who employed me from school and pushed my journey, majority of my time here at the company. It will be a celebration.